Hey Crafty fam, it's Alex Vanover and welcome back to my craft room. In this video, we're going to be doing something pretty different because this video is actually going to star my husband Andrew. In this video, he's going to show you the process of how to make this awesome vinyl holder. You guys are always asking me questions about the vinyl holder that you see behind the table where I film, so he generously built me another one to hold my heat transfer vinyl, and we're going to walk you through the whole process of how to make it in case you want to add one to your own craft room. But I do want to remind you that when working with power tools, you want to make sure to wear your ear and eye protection as well as gloves, and you need to make sure that you yourself or someone you're working with is comfortable enough with power tools to make this project, because honestly it's not the world's easiest DIY. Wouldn't you agree?
Yep.
So let's get started.
Safety first.
Safety first. So the base of the vinyl holder are the IKEA bag holders that you guys have seen so many crafters use in their craft rooms. But we're going to use them in a slightly different way. So the first step to making the vinyl holder is actually cutting off the piece that would normally be what assembles it and face the wall. We used a total of 8 bag holders on my vinyl holder, but you don't have to use as many as us.
But you do need to purchase these in sets of 2.
Yes, because you need one for the front and one for the back for the vinyl to go through both sides. So however high you make them, they must be bought in sets of 2. And Andrew just used a sharp utility knife to cut the sides off of this. So nothing too crazy.
So next you're going to want to cut these tabs off the side of the vinyl holder. These are originally on there to put the bag holder together in a semicircle, but for our purposes we're going to want to cut those off. So lay down a scrap piece of wood or plywood or something so you don't dull the blade up on your utility knife, and you're just going to want to cut those off.
Yeah, and make sure that you use a super sharp, preferably a brand new utility knife, because this is pretty tough on them. And why do you need to cut these tabs off anyway?
Because if you leave them on there, for one, it's going to look kind of funky, but it's also going to mess it up when we mount it to the frame.
Gotcha. So next you need to lay the vinyl holder out on the wood so that you can actually see what length you need to cut the 1x2s. These are pre-painted 1x2 trim boards that we purchased at Lowe's. And as you're laying those out on the board, you need to make sure that these little notches that you see are all going in the same direction. So they either need to be at the bottom of all the bag holders or at the top of all the bag holders. But regardless, they need to be the same so that the vinyl holders match up when you put the frame together. So Andrew just secured them to the 1x2 using these clamps, and then that way he was able to see exactly what length he actually needed to cut the wood instead of just measuring. I believe our measurement ended up being 70 inches and a quarter, but I would highly recommend doing your own measuring and not trusting that. So here's Andrew just going over to his sliding compound miter saw and cutting those all at 70 1/4. You'll also notice that each time he cuts a new piece, he actually measures the next piece using the existing piece so that they do end up all being even.
An important note here, I'm measuring all the pieces from the first piece that I cut.
To make sure that they all stay consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's Andrew just showing you that they're all 4 perfectly even. And those are the 4 pieces that we're going to use for the base. So next we laid the frame out in order to figure out what to cut the short pieces that go in the top, the center, and the bottom of each piece of the frame. So there'll be a total of 6 of them, and they ended up needing to be 11.5 inches. Then Andrew's going to use wire brad nails in order to start assembling the frame. So he adds the short pieces first on each side before adding the long piece on the other side. Pay special attention to when you're assembling the frame and make sure that everything is exactly square. You'll notice that Andrew is really careful and detailed about making sure that it's exact, and that's a really important step so that all the vinyl holders line up correctly. So after he adds nails to that side, then he just adds the 4th piece of the frame on the top of that so that he can nail everything together. And then you have the beginnings of the first side of your frame.
So here you want to make sure you cut the lip off the top and bottom of this bag holder. If not, it won't line up properly when you're attaching it to that center cross brace.
So that's important for the 2nd and the 3rd vinyl holder, right? But not for the top and the bottom one.
Yeah, you only need to do this for on 2 pieces.
Next, it's time to start adding the vinyl holders. And so here in just a second, I'm going to show you the paneling nails that Andrew is using. They are painted white, which is really nice because the vinyl holders are white and so are the trim board. So using white panel nails is a nice way to just make it look a little bit nicer as you're assembling it. So Andrew uses an average of probably 6 or 8 nails per vinyl holder. And that just helps make it nice and secure and keep everything in place, which is really, really handy because when you're pulling the vinyl in and out of these holes, you definitely need your vinyl holders to be secure. So then here Andrew is measuring where the centerpiece needs to go. He puts kind of a center brace in the middle just to make sure that the 2nd and 3rd vinyl holder have something to attach to.
Okay. So this is just another 11.5 inch centerpiece, cross bracing. So this is halfway, this is going to hit right in the middle of one of these pieces, so I'll be able to put a nail in this one and in the top of the next one I'll put on.
Okay, yeah.
So that's why it's dead in the center. We're splitting the difference of that seam right there.
Gotcha. Once the center brace is in place, you can continue attaching all of the vinyl holders. The benefit of the center brace not only makes the frame a little bit more sturdy, but it also allows the 2nd and 3rd vinyl holder to have an extra piece to be nailed to. So once you have all the vinyl holders attached, you need to repeat all these steps so you have a total of 2 framed pieces with the vinyl holders attached.
So this is being made for a 12 by 12 roll sheet of vinyl. So that's too close together, so they need to be a little farther apart so it'll hold the vinyl. It can't be more than 12, but it needs to be more than what it is. So that's why I'm cutting, 4-inch blocks. It'd be about 4 inches wide, so it'll space it out So the total width apart from the outside to outside will be about 7 inches.
And so here's Andrew just cutting all 6 of those little 4-inch pieces.
I'm using a 2-inch panhead screw.
Okay.
So the way these are going to be attached, they're going to be, it's called toe nailing.
Okay.
Or toe screwing, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be toe screwed through the side right here at an angle. So the screw is going to be coming through the wood like that right there.
Okay.
So I have to drill a pilot hole so it doesn't split the wood out. And then I have to drill a pocket hole so the head will countersink down into the wood.
Okay.
So you drill your pilot hole first. You want to do it in an angle. So the screw will come through like that right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the pocket hole countersink, they make a pocket hole jig, but I don't have one. So if you don't have one, you can do it like this. Take that 3/8 bits and barely get it started. Just barely get it started like that. And I'm not going to put very much pressure on it. And we're just going to kind of lay it over like that. And you put the screw in.
Mm-hmm.
And the screw will be nice and flush.
Gotcha. Cool.
So that's the goal. When you drill them, it's kind of important you angle the bits opposite from each other a little bit. So
Okay.
Angle that one that way and angle that one that way. If you just tilt your drill up a little bit on each side, it'll offset it when you flip it over. So the holes don't meet in the same place.
Okay.
So the screws miss each other.
Gotcha. Okay. And then you repeat for all 6 pieces, right?
Yep. Probably want to purchase a pocket hole jig. At the time, I did not have one, so this is a way around it. But this is a good way to lose some skin off your fingers.
Yeah, so if you are able to get a hold of a pocket hole jig that's the correct size, we definitely recommend that. We also potentially recommend wearing some gloves during this step. Keep in mind, guys, that this is done with my husband in our garage, and he's super comfortable with power tools, so he's perfectly confident doing things like this, but make sure that you're taking all the safety precautions that you feel like you need to, and you're working with someone who's very comfortable with power tools. So next, here's Andrew just following those pilot holes he created and putting the screws into the frame on one side. So you can place these little 4-inch pieces honestly wherever you like, but it's really, really important that you're able to line them up with the second frame. So make sure that you are able to you're putting them in a place that's easy to line up on both sides of the frame. Keep in mind there are a total of 6 of these pieces, so Andrew just put them just inside the corner at the top and the bottom, as well as at the center.
And another reason you want to drill those pocket holes, after you get this put together, you can come back behind that and put some wood filler over top of the screws and repaint it if you want.
So you could make it, even take it a step further and make it look really, really nice if you wanted to.
You can completely cover up those screws.
Yeah, that's a great point. If that's important to you, you guys may want to consider that. And so then once you put the other 6 pieces on, then you need to lay the second side of your frame on the top and attach screws to the other side. And so once that step is finished, your frame is fully assembled, and there's just a few more steps to finishing your vinyl holder. Here's a side view of the way that it looks, and kind of a better shot of where Andrew put all of those spacing pieces. And next it's time to build your base. So you can use, you can create a base out of anything that you have just laying around. We use some plywood because that's just what we happen to have. And my base ended up being 12 inches by 23 inches, but you can make the base pretty much any size that you need it to be. Just make sure that you measure it for specifically wherever you're going to put it. So after Andrew cut the piece of plywood, he gave it a quick sand, and then I did paint it using teal chalk paint. Then next he drills pilot holes in the bottom of the frame in order to attach it to the base.
It is important to drill pilot holes because this wood does split fairly easily.
Then next you use a tape measure and make sure that your frame is exactly square on top of your base. And I really like the frame to be square on top of it so that there's plenty of room for the vinyl to stick out in the front and the back without hitting the wall. So next, Andrew just followed those pilot holes that he created and put screws into the frame, attaching it to the base. And lastly, it's really, really important that you put feet on your base in order to make sure that it's nice and steady. And so Andrew felt like these were a little bit too long, so there he's marking it with a Sharpie, and he's actually going to cut off the bottoms of all 4 of the feet pieces. So here he's using a Dremel with a cutoff tool to just cut at the area where he marked to make sure that the feet are not too long and they don't go through the top of the base. You can also use different feet if you find better feet, but Andrew mentioned to me that these are similar to the feet that you put on the bottom of your stove, so you can use them to level in case your floor is not perfectly level. And here he's just measuring just inside 1 inch around each section of the base so that he can put the feet in the exact same spot on all 4 corners.
So here I'm just wrapping some electrical tape around the drill bit that I'm going to be using so I don't drill completely through the wood and drill a hole out the top of the wood.
Yeah, so he used the base to measure where he needed to mark it, but he used electrical tape so that he doesn't go through the top and create holes in the base where you don't want them.
So you're only going to drill, when you're drilling these holes, you're only going to drill down to the electrical tape.
That would make it much easier to make sure that you don't accidentally go through the top. So then he's just using this insert and making sure that it fits really well inside the hole. Then he drilled the holes in all the spots that he marked previously. Next, he screwed the insert onto the feet. These actually came with the inserts, or they came with the feet, so you don't have to buy them separately. And then he used hot glue, and he glued all the way around the outside of the insert. He stuck a little bit of hot glue inside the hole, and then put the feet inside the hole.
So you don't have to use hot glue here. You can use basically any kind of glue you have laying around the house. I just use hot glue because we have a ton of it in our house.
Yeah, as a crafting household, we have plenty of hot glue guns and plenty of hot glue, so it's readily available. Since this is Andrew's very first debut on YouTube, make sure you guys show him tons of love in the comments, because honestly, he doesn't really love being on camera, but he did this partially for me, but also partially for you guys, because I tell him all the time how much you ask me about the vinyl holder, so we finally wanted to do this video for you so that you can build one in your own craft room. And if you decide to build one, I would love to see your work, so please be sure to tag me on social media if you build one. You can tag me at DIY Alex Vanover. That's how you can find me on the vast majority of social platforms, but I'll also put direct links down in the description of this video, and I'll also try to link as many of the materials as I can in the description of this video in case you guys are curious about what exactly we used to build this vinyl holder. And if you haven't already, please click right here to subscribe to the DIY Alex YouTube channel. Scroll down just a little bit and ring the bell and select all notifications so that you never miss when I upload a new video, Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I hope we can craft again soon.